Okay, guys, welcome back. Chapter 23, Capitalism and Culture, a New Phase in Global Interaction Since 1945. Your last section, Experiencing the Anthropocene Era, Environment and Environmentalism. In case you're wondering what Anthropocene means, that's the proposed period of time, basically dating from the beginning of significant human impact on the Earth's geology and ecosystems. Okay, here we go. All right, the global environment transformed. Okay, three factors have magnified the human impact on Earth. World population has quadrupled in the 20th century. The massive use of fossil fuels, for example, coal in the 19th century, oil in the 20th century, and enormous economic growth. So this explosion of human population shot up from about 1.6 billion in 1900 to 7 billion by 2012, putting huge strain on the planet's environment. And the use of fossil fuels made humans incredibly more productive, but also degraded the environment. And the pollution and climate change that came with enormous economic growth, for example, in air, water, and land pollution, are obvious and well-known consequences of the 20th century industrial development. Scientists are only now starting to understand the complex impact on the environment and the global climate. There's an uneven spread of all three all over the world, but the economic growth came to appear possible and desirable almost everywhere. Now, human environmental disruptions are now of global proportions. Doubling of cropland and corresponding contraction of forests and grasslands, the numerous extinction of plants and animal species, the air pollution in many major cities and rivers. If you get a chance, you should Google Beijing to see the air pollution there. And the chlorofluorocarbons that have thinned the ozone layer are also of significance. And by 2000, the scientific consensus on the occurrence of global warming has been seen as the result of burning all those fossil fuels and the loss of trees. And here we've got a map that shows basically the heaviest footprint or the heaviest damage of industrialization and what that's done to the environment. So obviously the U.S. and Canada have the heaviest footprint, as well as Australia, a highly productive country, as well as parts of Europe. And then we see others, like, for example, Russia and other parts of Europe that are on the 4 scale. Most of Latin America is a 3. Even some parts of Africa have made it to a 3. What's interesting is that China is only a 3. But keep in mind that a vast majority of the Chinese population lives along the eastern coast. Very, very sparsely populated for a huge portion of China. And I think that's important when you're looking at numbers like this. Okay, green and global. There we go. Okay, environmentalism began in the 19th century as a response to the Industrial Revolution. And it did not draw a mass following like many thought that it would. Environmentalism only became a phenomenon in the second half of the 20th century. Began in the West with Rachel Carson's Silent Spring in 1962. And the impetus for action came from the grassroots and citizen protests. And in Germany, environmentalists entered politics as the Green Party. So the studying the impact of DDT on birds launched the modern environmental movement. And that's what was in Silent Spring in 1962. And this German political party started with its opposition to nuclear energy and moved on to oppose other harmful consequences of industrial societies. And they've taken on the importance of saving forests and protesting mining operations. In the global south, various movements have tried to save trees from logging or land clearing. and protested polluting mining operations. That's also led to conflicts between the developed and the developing worlds. While issues of environmental action are global concerns, the policies of the global north often seem to the global south as if the developing nations will not be allowed to industrialize and improve their standard of living. Okay, so environmentalism took root in the developing countries in the 1970s and the 1980s, and it tended to be more locally based, involving poorer people. They're more concerned with food security, health, and survival, and they focused on saving threatened people rather than plants and animals. And environmentalists sometimes have sought basic changes in political and social structure of their country. For example, the Philippine activism against foreign mining companies is a good example. And like I said, environmentalism became a matter of global concern by the end of the 20th century. Legislation to control pollution occurred in many countries. Encouragement for businesses to become green were also huge movements. Research on alternative energy sources and conferences on global warming have been held numerous times in several locations. The international agreements on a number of issues have come up. But that's what's led to those conflicts between the global north and the global south that I just mentioned. The northern efforts to control pollution and global warming could limit the south's industrial development, and the developing countries perceive the developed ones as unwilling to give up their extravagance and really help out those that matter. Nonetheless, global environmentalism has come to symbolize focus on the plight of all humankind. It's a challenge to modernity itself, especially commitment to endless growth and growing importance of ideas and sustainability and restraint. Okay, guys, that is the end of Section 4, Experiencing the Anthropocene Era, Environmentalism. It has been a joy. You guys have been fantastic. Thank you so much for going through all of these video slides, and I'm taking notes. Thank you for viewing them. Some of you have let me know if you like them, if you didn't like them. Feel free to leave constructive comments and how I can do this to help you and make it better. I think you guys have done a great job taking initiative to learn the material yourself. As that's why these are here. I don't need the lecture 5 times a day, but you guys have availability now to listen to it as many times as you want and as often as you want, and you can go at your own pace. And that's what's important, is that you continually take in this content and this material and continue to learn. Your goal should always be a lifelong learner. All right. Good job, and I will see you guys in class. You've been fantastic. I will do a reflections and visual sources for Chapter 23, just like I have for the other chapters. And I will see you later. Thank you.